Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. There's a point that I glossed over in this video that I did a few days ago that I think is really a disservice to you that I glossed over, because it demonstrates that you're on the winning side, not the losing side. In this video, I talked about Samsung doing this thing where they pushed out a firmware update that stopped televisions from being able to show you a slideshow of your pictures unless you pay them a subscription. There was some app on the television, and if you wanted to get that particular app to work the way it did before they sent out a fucked up update that disabled everything, you would have to pay them. Samsung waffled on this and gave different people different answers depending on how you contacted them. And eventually there was a PR firm that said, whoopsie, this is an error. And when they spoke to their customers in the forum, after consulting with a PR firm, you got this nonsense. A version of the ART app that does not require a paid subscription is currently being prepared. The improved app is expected to be released in early August. When they call it an improved app, they're doing something that I talked about in the Nix Play video that an ex of mine used to do. It was one of these things where it's like, I didn't lie to you, I withheld the truth. They didn't lie, because this application is going to be an improved application. It's an improvement upon the forced software update ransomware they sent to you that asked for money for what used to be free when you bought the product. That's technically correct. And when you look at how perfectly they crafted that response so that they're not lying and they're making it sound like it's not a bad thing, even though what they did is literally reach into your device, rip functionality out, tell you have to pay for it, and then when everybody revolted, say, never mind, we're going to give it back. That's the type of thing that gets crafted when you're dealing with a PR agency. And the news company that was talking back and forth with Samsung, when Tech.no reached out to them, they did say that these statements were sent by a Norwegian PR agency to them, which means they are dealing with PR agencies. And one of the things you have to think about when it is you're dealing with a PR agency is, what are you paying for? You're paying people tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes in the millions, to be able to craft for you 2 to 4 sentence responses so you know what to say to lower the temperature and keep people from wanting to pitchfork you. People don't do that because they're successful. They do that when they're scared. When you think to yourself, how am I going to beat this company when they have all these lobbyists that they can hire to speak to senators and Congress people and explain everything away? I talk to you about this, but my experience in 2015 in the New York State Senate and Assembly, where there's a person that I spoke to who had all these Apple lobbyists in his ear. I showed up dressed like a bum, and within 20 minutes of talking, he's co-sponsoring a piece of legislation because we had a better argument. The thing is, every single time he got an email or a phone call from a constituent, the opposition lobbyist is right there on a moment's notice to be able to explain away why that was BS. You don't do that if you're confident in your arguments. You don't do that when you're confident you're on the right side of history. You do that when you fucked up. You do that when you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar and somebody's mad at you, often for good reason. You do that because you're scared that if they actually hear the truth for 5 seconds without you in their ear poisoning their brain, that they're going to go with the truth. I say this because I want you to understand that when it comes to these consumer rights battles, that you're on the right side of history, and they're not. And when they do this, when they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to craft 2 to 4 sentence responses that sound like the type of manipulative ass bullshit that you've probably heard from the shitty ex, that is done because they're scared. And they're scared for a reason, because they understand that if they fail even once at sanding off the rough edges of what they have done, that the regulatory scrutiny is going to come down upon them. But more importantly, the pitchforks will come out. And even normies that don't follow this stuff on a regular basis will start following it. News outlets that don't pick this stuff up because it's not their thing will start picking up the story. You see, when somebody is reading over things, I know this because I get like 300 emails a day at this point. When I'm reading through things, I'm doing a certain level of skimming because I just don't have the bandwidth to answer 300 emails a day for people from YouTube. And while I'm skimming through this, I'm skimming through it with just a different section of my brain that's scanning things very, very quickly. And that section of my brain is kind of programmed to pick out certain elements. So if I read something like this, right? Improved version that does not require subscription expected. That doesn't sound bad. They're doing this because they realize that senators and Congress people and journalists are doing the same thing. Senators and Congress people and assembly representatives, they have so many issues that they have to deal with at any given point in time. There's so much stuff on their plate. It's information overload. So as long as they can take any of the things that they've done and figure out a way to not lie while simultaneously just making it sound like it's a little less shitty than it actually was, that's usually enough for them to be able to continue getting away with fucking everybody over, both in not having the media coverage that these items should have when they happen, and more importantly, it not getting the attention of consumer protection agencies and our government. And I want you to see this not as them having the upper hand, like they can afford a PR agency to respond to everything. They can afford the top tier lobbyists, but rather as a weakness. You know you're scared. You know you don't have a winning argument. You know you're on the wrong side of history, and this is exactly how you can tell. When you spend $20,000 to $40,000 to figure out how to craft a 2 to 4 fucking sentence answer, that's because you know that 99% of the ways that you could explain what you did are going to come out fucked up, because they are fucked up. But when you have the truth on your side, when you've done something good and useful for your neighbor, your friends, your family, and your economy, you don't have to spend several weeks and hundreds of thousands of dollars figuring out exactly how to craft the perfect 2 to 3 sentence way to describe what you did, because you have the truth on your side. You know, if you don't use the perfect choice of wording, you know that even if you've had a couple of beers and you're like maybe a little bit drunk, that you'll be able to explain it in a way where it comes out properly because you did the right thing. When you see this, I don't want you to look at that and say, they have a PR firm, they can afford that, we're never going to beat them. They have a great lobbying firm, we're never going to beat that. That's not how that works at all. They need those things because they're scared. It's a weakness, not a strength. You're on the right side of history, and people who care about ownership and consumer rights are going to win. It is simply a matter of when, not whether we will. And it's going to happen with the help of all of you. Every single time you help document this stuff, every single time you make sure that it is easy for me to make one click and find exactly what I need. Maybe 2 clips because I don't know how to use a computer. You're making it easier for the journalist, the politician, the legislative aide, that intern, investigative journalist, TV personality to be able to cover that issue the way it needs to be covered, so that people become organized, work together, stop fighting amongst themselves, and fight for a better world. Remember what I said in the pinned comment of this video. I'm always bullied for having older stuff. I laugh at them when their smart device locks them out. Remember my pinned comment. For every one person that bullies you because of your choice in television, there are 1,000 other people that don't bully you that fall victim to this because they don't know any better. Your enemy isn't your neighbor. It's the people screwing with you. Never forget that. Don't laugh at your neighbor. Band together to fight the people screwing you both. And realize that if you do that, you have the chance to win. And I look forward 1 to 2 weeks from now, start talking about, some positive developments here. Fingers crossed, no jinxing. Things go the way I want. Some of you have asked, how can you help? We're going to be pushing for laws to be dropped. When those laws get dropped, I'm going to ask you to bother the hell out of your representatives and explain why it's important. I'm going to count on you to do it. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. I hope this was encouraging. Bye now.
We also have the duty not to infringe the IP rights in the process. It is in fact the manufacturers who have the relevant rights, not consumers.